I call this meeting to order. Kathy, would you like to do roll call?
Sure. Donnell Allen,
Here.
Rich Bianculli,
Present.
Chris Carrier, Wendy Newcomb,
Here.
Maggie Williams.
Here.
Okay. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. Okay, do we have any agenda adjustments? Nope. Alrighty. Minutes. Were there any changes to the minutes from, what's this, a board workshop, but that was the actual meeting,
Yeah, it should be for the last meeting.
the meeting, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, regular.
But it's right on the minutes. I don't think I found anything
Oh, I
in
see
here.
what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Did anybody have any adjustments on the minutes? Okay, I'm looking for a motion then to accept them as presented.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Who seconded?
Wendy.
Wendy did.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Public comment. Does the public want to comment this evening? Okay.
Moving right along.
You can recite a poem. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Hi there, so I'd like to talk first about strategic planning. I sent an article, I think I sent an article out to folks that was, let me just take a quick look at my article. It was Leading to Change, Making Strategic Planning Work by Doug Reeves. And Doug Reeves is a prolific educational writer, has some really good stuff. He's well respected. And he talks about plans that time shows works and plans that don't tend to work. I support his thinking in this because of the experiences that I've had. I've been involved in teaching in administrative levels where in one case there was a 57-page strategic plan document. I'm going to tell you right now, if someone in the district knew that all of the parts of that plan, they deserve a bag of cookies, because it was impossible. And then Doug talks about, he goes the opposite direction. He talks about the one-pager. His whole point is it should be succinct enough so that everybody knows what the small number of actual focus areas are. He gives the example of Einstein saying that, reducing things, but of course that was Einstein's whole point, right? Was everything comes down to a kernel, a nucleus, or a nut, and he can envision that. I agree with his thinking as well that less is more in this case, and the opportunity to work and be focused on certain things that we are constantly collecting current data on. That's not just saying that kids are numbers. It's talking about the social, emotional, the MyHIS results, the feedback from teachers, all of those pieces certainly included equally as well, if not more importantly. So in the strategic planning, that's one of the things I'll be promoting, is not to have something that is too overly complicated, that does not roll well off the tongue, and that people can't tell you what they're actually working on that are the primary focus areas. So that's one piece about the strategic plan. Also, I have I'm working on my planning process template for a slide deck right now, and I've got several projected dates in this that I will send out to you folks in the very near future. I just finished working some of this this afternoon. And you can let me know if these dates work for you or if there are conflicts that you're aware of. You and I just went through those just before the last meeting this evening. So I'll be happy to get people's feedback, talk about what the process is as well. So I'll probably take a screenshot of this slide and send the whole thing to you, and you can kind of get a flavor for it. We do want to provide childcare for the session. So is there a recommended organization that I should reach out to? I see a hand going up.
Girl Scouts.
I was just gonna say
You're
the
gonna say
Girl Scouts.
Okay. Who is the troop leader for the older
Mandy.
girls? Is
Well,
Mandy?
it was Mandy Dearborn that we reached out to for that special town meeting. And, yeah, and I think she recruits, yeah,
Yeah.
and they came and it was great.
They're who rescued us with Breakfast with Santa last year too.
Yeah, so they're
And
great.
it was all ages, but they did a great job.
But
Was
they
there
also
a-
have adult supervisors for them.
Yeah.
Was there a problem with the sleigh? Or, well,
No.
no? I'm sorry, they also what, Wendy?
They provide supervisors along with the Girl Scouts. There was a couple,
Yes.
I think at least 2 adults
I
present.
don't- Do you have Mandy's
The
phone number?
meetings would be designed to be 5:30 to 6:30
Right.
on a Tuesday or Thursday night, depending on activity in the town as well. So short duration.
And,
That's not too late to tip the apple cart for young ones on their bedtimes at home.
Right.
And not too early that people can't head out of work and just come here for this. So tried to pick some happy medium in there. The importance is that we work on strategic planning together. We as in the entire community. So if business representatives are available, citizens, taxpayers, people who don't have kids in the school, people with kids in the school, so forth. Let's see who we can get out to come and join us. There's a couple of different sessions that I've got listed in here that are talking about things like introduction to this strategic planning process and starting to collect some feedback from people about our current vision, our school vision, our district, school department vision and mission. Also, we do not have core values or belief statements, so that's something we would look to, I would promote adding to our vision, mission, values. And then getting into doing some small group work that involves looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, so the SWOT procedure you've been through before, doing some analysis of data, or that'll be done at the school level, and then we'll bring it back for people to review, and that'll have a lot of different cuts of data. That it says it's a data sift, which I'm like, oh, good.
Steve, I have a belief statement. for
Math
us.
geek, what can I say? What?
I believe that we didn't have public comment today because there's a lack of free pizza, and I think we should start raising some funds for some free pizza.
It's
at
the
this.
pizza?
You know, I think that's a really good
If you want to
idea.
have a strategic plan, you need free pizza.
I
Okay.
think that's the first
Oh, that is-
order of business,
I think
especially if it's
Einstein-
around dinner time and you've got kids.
So
That's a
Jeff
Good
and
idea.
Greg Cutting, if you're listening, we're talking to you. Get us some pizza. All right. I don't think I'll be allowed back in. So we'll also look at this procedure. This process would take us through to the end of January to complete. It's not overly crazy with meetings. There are several, but they're short duration. It'd be nice to be able to say we'll take a 3-hour chunk or something like that and really dig in, but I don't think that's going to work for people.
Steve, were you going to have an initial one on the 19th of October?
Yes,
Okay, that was like the first one.
yes, that's the
Okay.
kickoff.
Okay.
Thank you, putting that plug in. All right, so strategic planning, coming your way soon. There'll be a flyer coming home in backpacks, and there'll be an online piece as well. If you look under a section, we're adding a section that says Superintendent's Corner, and that's where my communications and so forth will go. So please make sure to look for that in the very near future. Matt Calder and I just worked on that today. So, shifting gears, it says school goals. Now, there's one thing that Kathy has provided me a copy of from a November 29th of 22 school committee minutes, and I see that the school committee carved out 3 specific goals. One was develop and assess a Sebago school committee process and timeline to provide oversight of curriculum and instruction and the monitoring of student achievement, which I refer to as the assessment component. Then develop and assess a Sebago school committee subcommittee structure with respect of responsibilities and processes. There was a committee that was about the before and after school program in the grade 6 coming back to Sebago. And then part C is develop and assess a Sebago school committee community relations and communication procedure and timeline. So these pieces that I'm going to talk to you about are not like in place of this. They're work that as the principal John and the special ed director Dell and I work with our colleagues. These are some of the things that we're going to be helping to focus people on. I'll mention them briefly. I'm sure they'll all be surprising topics. CIA, the other CIA, Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, the real CIA. There are some really good professional development plans in here that John has had in place, and we're continuing to develop those this year and build those into a broader base. Safety and security is another topic for the school. Communication, this communication is talking about how we're communicating with the public, particularly. And then looking into the ongoing plans, which dovetails with the board's goals as well. This is building consolidation, reducing oil and gas dependency, exterior envelope, reducing energy costs, sprinklers. There's a lot of information in that part that's actually about the physical plant itself. So the operations report following the Colby Company Enterprises February report, the grade 6 committee work, and then another goal that we'll be focusing on is School for All. What are we doing to make Sebago Elementary Sebago Elementary more inclusive all the time? Questions? You notice that's not 20 things, because if everything's a priority, then
Yeah.
nothing's a priority.
Right.
Steve, where does the mentoring program fit into that? Is that really in the School for All, or is that more of a committee action? I know Chris had mentioned it last time.
When you say mentoring, that's an upcoming topic for
No.
the
Yes.
next
Right, for the next
board
time.
meeting. But when you say mentoring, are you talking about student mentoring?
Yes.
For
Or teaching-
older students,
Older
mentoring-
students coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming
Younger
back
students,
here and
yeah.
mentoring current students.
I don't have any feedback for you at this time.
That's
I'm
fine.
going to be very interested to hear the update on that. It's just not one of the things I've been able to dig into
No,
yet.
that's fine. We haven't had too much time.
Chris will be bringing information to our October
Great.
meeting,
Awesome.
so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran into her at a breakfast place one day, and I should have said to her, "Now give me the
Right.
update." Yes, but thanks. I'm certainly looking forward to catching up about this. The third topic is school revolving renovation fund. There is about $24 million that the State Department has set aside for priority A topics, which is life, health, safety, and compliance. We have the CCE report from February, which is great information on what's the state of the facility, the operational components, and the structure of the building. One of the things that is a little bit difficult right now is time. Two of the things: timing and money. in order for that particular report can be a supporting document in an SRRF application, but it cannot be the primary document because you have to go through a process where you actually engage an architect and engineer firm using the structure that's put in place by the State Department. Simple things like week 1, you have to advertise in the Kennebec Journal. Week 2, advertise. Week 3, hold read applications from companies that put in to be at the table for A&E work. And then select one. Then after that, you go through the process of, all right, these are the things we want. What is the cost component to this that they're projecting? A little different because usually you think, wait a minute, don't I get estimates first and then I
Right.
pick somebody that I want? It's not done in that same fashion for these applications. So we have work to do that's going to take probably most of 2 to 3 months to put some of that in place. The other piece is that there's a certain, depending on the size of the application, which in our case could be anywhere from $650,000 to $800,000 worth of items that we would be applying for state subsidy. There is a percentage that the A&E gets for doing that work. In our case, that could be $48,000, anywhere up to $60,000, depending on test pits and whatever else has to be uncovered to get specifics. We don't have a current line in the budget that is a capital line to do that kind of work. So my goal is to make sure this spring, in this late winter and early spring, is to present to you a line that would cover that work moving forward so that by the time October of '24 rolls around, we have a very strong application process ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a capital improvement fund. I think it was called a CAP. I don't know.
Yeah, it
See
wasn't managed like CIP, but.
No.
yeah.
But we have that in our budget, right?
Yeah, but not, so there's, I've been working with with our accounting firm to determine exactly where we are financially. And so what we have is, it looks like there's $173,000 that was not, that's my most recent take, it's 173, that was not planned for this year or is not covered under a particular
Right.
title. And I have probably, I think we can account for about 80 to 85,000 of that. So it still leaves us about another $88,000 to cover in this year's budget. The school district operates on about an 81 to 19 ratio, which is 81% contracted services, salaries, benefits, and hourly wages, and 19% on the supply line side. So you're not going to make that up by cutting out markers, dry erase boards, and things like that. We're going to and we operate on a very tight staffing under contracts. My position's a good example of that. It's right-sized in my view. Some of the staffing that we have, from guidance and social work services to special education director to our specials, also operate on very tight timeframes to meet budgetary lines and while taking care of needs of students. So we've got to figure out how to make up a shortfall from the 22-23 school year that will mean that any extra funds that are available, if they were to be earmarked to go towards A&E work, is just gonna dig the hole deeper,
Okay.
so.
Steve, I just had one question. I know it's probably more for like an operations committee meeting, which we should probably try to advertise on the website in addition to, school committee meetings and all these strategic planning meetings. But I noticed in the operations plan for our deficiencies or projects that we should undertake over the next, 3 to 5 years, there were a number of items that seemed like they were the more inexpensive items that, possibly others might be interested in providing, just volunteering their services to the school. Is that something that the school could accept if they were qualified to do the work?
Yes, we certainly could. Here's a simple example. The preschool area that we have outside the playground, by state definition, and in order to qualify for a preschool playground, it has to be cordoned off from the rest of the playground facility. So the fencing that's there, in my newsletter that I have put together to go out at the end of this week, it's asking for people who are contractors that are in the business and have insurances and so forth, that they would maybe reach out to us and contact John or myself, and let's see what we can get.
Great.
If people are in favor of doing that. Maybe some people say we'll donate to the fund for the supplies, and somebody else might say, well, I can do the work. And
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
So we're
like
definitely-
a concrete pad outside of a door was one of those punch list items that was like, oh, maybe someone would volunteer to
Right.
install a concrete
Right.
pad. It's very small.
Same thing with our main entrance. As I hear from John, that in the wintertime, once everything freezes up pretty hard, we get a constant ridge out there that they're out there. Whose turn is it with the ice chipper to make sure that that it's, because it's so thick in one particular row, that it's problematic for people coming and going. So we'll be looking. I'll be posting something saying, is anyone interested in trying to help us solve this problem?
Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fund balance is under 13,000 right now, so that's not gonna be a source to look for any funds to come out of. It's 13,000, we should be carrying a fund balance for a $4 million budget, should be about, could be as much as, let's see. It could be 5 times that number. You're allowed to carry, I think it's 5% now in a fund balance, and we're down to 1.5%, something like that. So we don't have financial ways to look at some of the problems, but we'll get creative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Principals report?
Yeah. And so I'm going to talk about CIA, and it's not the law enforcement type. So I'll start with professional development. October 6th, we are going to begin our work with Reed Dyer Consulting. This year, the focus is on conferring with students, and so Reed has linked up with our literacy coach, and they're going to co-facilitate the training on the 6th for most of that day. And then we also, Steve connected us with the Greater Sebago Education Association, and it's been challenging not to have professional development for our specialists, so this allows us to do that. And so our specialists on that day will be going off-site to Wyndham and to Greater New Gloucester for professional development for the full day. So they're excited about it, and it will give them an opportunity to connect with colleagues at different schools and have conversations about their area of specialty. Also on that day, Chris Bennett's going to facilitate our conversations for the Math for Me project that we're working with this year. And so she's preparing for that. Next week, she'll go into every classroom to get a sense of what teachers at different grade levels are doing in math, and then that way she can kind of wrap her head around what that PD on that day will be on math. We also have 3 staff members on November 15th and 16th going to Augusta for some train-to-trainer professional development focused on student behavior. It's called the Regulated Classroom. DOE pays for it, and so it's the price I love, free. And so we're sending 3 staff members down there, and then they'll come back and they'll train the rest of the staff. So I think that will be a great support for all. I won't talk about new staff because I think you're going to, or someone's going to, or should I?
You should.
Okay, so we have hired 2 new ed techs to support our students, Jessica Randall and Marissa Barker. They started working this week. Last week. And so they've been really training with Sue and Jen to get to know the kids, to get to know the ins and outs of the school. And so that's a nice addition to our staff. For testing, we have the NWA and the main assessment through the year coming up. The window opens October 2nd. We'll probably start around the 9th or 10th. Matt Calder with the new assessment for grades 3 through 5. He's rostering kids and getting the computers prepped for that day. We also started in September, on September 13th, with our narrative writing pre-assessments. So this year, like we do, we'll be writing throughout the year 3 times, and parents will get some feedback on their students' writing. And narrative writing is happening this fall. And then we have important dates. We have teacher workshop, the 6th. We have, of course, I said the testing window opens up. SPICE has sponsored some after-school classes. We have rope making on the 10th of October and paper craft time. We also have coming up the Fall Festival on the 27th of October. And then that following Monday, with the support of SPICE and donors, we have the planetarium. It will take up our entire cafeteria, so kids will be eating lunch in the classroom, and we'll have to provide staff support during that time. And then finally, on November 1st and 2nd, that week we have the book fair. The end of October October 30th, throughout that week we have the book fair, and we have parent-teacher conferences on the 1st and 2nd of November. Yeah.
Would it be okay, for the night of the day of the planetarium, would it be okay to say we'll need a lot of space?
We will need a lot of space. And I will leave it at that.
That's what I do.
John, I
Yeah.
had a question, and this might actually be a question for Mrs. V, but would there be any interest in the school obtaining maybe a list of like the top 3 wants and needs from all of the various teachers, just to see if, folks might be able to provide that in addition to what's provided by the budget? Like if teachers are looking for certain things, they might be
Are you talking educational resources?
anything in the classroom.
Brent, do you want to speak to that?
Never hurts to put something out for people to
No.
respond to.
I mean, it's just every time we ask for help from the community community comes in full force.
Yeah.
And for us not to be asking for help when we really need it, we have a budget shortfall. We have people that have the experience or the resources to provide these things.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it never hurts,
No.
No,
No.
it doesn't.
No?
So if we could have something like that in addition to what Steve's doing in his superintendent's corner, maybe, either from Rando or from yourself on the website saying, oh, these are our top 3 needs that we just weren't able to get this year. And
Well, and
From
I
each
could
teacher.
do a survey, Rich, and let staff, what are the items that you would really appreciate to have this year, but we weren't able to get.
that'd be great.
We can do that. Yeah.
Awesome.
And the community has been good. I reached out to Richard Wing, and we're gonna have a lot more wood chips out for the playground to cover some of those spaces that aren't currently covered. And of course, we know we got the teeter-totters, which were great, and kids are on them and using them. It's nice to see.
It's great.
We're finally using that space.
Yeah.
John, Richard Wing, did he donate any of it, or? Are
Well,
we
I'm still
buying
in
it?
that process.
Okay, here's something you can mention to him.
Okay?
His aunt taught second grade here.
Oh.
Janice Weed.
Okay?
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Yes.
I will do that.
Um,
Send me an email. And that way I can
So
reference
that's a good
Yeah.
Nudge.
piece of information. Hey, you know, and,
No, and they
she
were-
was the school board chair's second grade teacher too. So there we go. There's
Okay.
another.
Well, and the community directed me to Richard because people were saying, you don't want to get it anywhere else because it'll have bugs and other things in it, so,
Right. That's great.
so I reached out. And he was
Yeah.
very friendly on the phone, very
Yeah,
helpful.
he's a good guy.
I have a question. You would be putting it out in the, the newsletter for the Sebago, but could you put it out on Facebook for the community? Once
I
a
do
week?
put things up there,
Okay.
yeah, and I would, something
So
like
it'd be for
what
other-
Rich is talking about.
Yeah,
I
right.
certainly would.
Yeah.
That's where I get the best response.
Sure. That's
But,
great.
I have the newsletter, I like to put it out there, and I put it out on the, like, with the teeter-totters and the wood chips, I put it on the community page, and within minutes,
That's
I'm
great.
getting hits on,
Yeah, that's great.
And
so that was good.
that will add to our community involvement, because
Mhm.
when someone gives something to the school, they feel like they're a part of it,
Yeah,
Right.
right? So I think that this will kind of also help bring people back in.
yeah, anytime I get an opportunity to request or reach out to the community, I always go to the community page, and then the other resources that I
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about recognizing folks at the end of the year too.
I
It'd be
think
great
that's
to
a
have,
really good
you know, a
idea.
little ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. With pizza.
With pizza.
Always back to the pizza.
Any other discussion? Thank you, John.
Yeah,
All right, action items. We have policies. Woohoo. Second reads. So, should I read the policies and then ask for motions?
If you read the title of the policy in the code,
Yep.
and then see what comments
Okay.
people have, yeah.
So, starting with Challenge of Instructional Materials Form, file code IJJ-E. Okay, so it's this one.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we want to do this as a block or as
I mean, I
individual
guess-
policies?
We'll probably just do them one by one, just
Okay.
because, you know.
So I'm looking for a
I'll move
motion.
to accept as presented. I believe there was a typo change. So just
Mm-hmm.
as presented, I'd like to accept this policy.
Mhm.
Okay, we
I'll
need-
second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on the policy? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that one is adopted. Okay, teaching about controversial / sensitive issues, file code IMB.
I would move to accept as presented.
We need a
Second that.
Okay, any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, so that's that. Okay, the original policy was titled Admission of Homeless Students. It will now be titled, if we adopt this, Education of Homeless Students. This is a required policy, correct?
And it's the administrative procedure.
And it is file code JFABD-R.
I move that we adopt that policy.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. Assignment of students to classes, file code JGAA. Yep, so we discussed in our workshop the fact that this is not a required policy.
No.
And it's more of the procedure of how children who are identified
So it talks
as
about
5-year.
taking a 5-year-old and
Yes.
saying, is it age appropriate for that student to be in kindergarten, or should the student be in first grade? And my recommendation is not to have this in policy, because we're gonna take each student that comes to us, each child, and evaluate them as appropriately
Right.
as possible and place them. So this policy doesn't actually inform our practice.
And in practice, could that 5-year-old potentially be placed in pre-K if that's where?
It's parent conversation,
It's-
where parents see the child, where the testing, because parents know the child much better than we do, besides our testing piece and maybe some historical pieces from daycare settings and so forth. So we're open to whatever options people would like to work with us on, to make sure we give the child the best possible start in school.
Okay,
So I move to pass and not table this item.
do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, student wellness, file code JL. This is a required policy. So what does the board choose to do?
This has just got a couple of minor little tweaks to it,
Yeah.
really. It's got, there's a number 3 in there that's got, and these are things that I'll show Kathy, that we have a number 3 in there, and then there are some where it said it said schools will, well, we have one school, and so we're gonna change it to the school. We also had, a required statement by law now. It's something that we practice anyways, but we'll add to the policy, such as recess will not be withheld from students as a form of discipline. So it's matching compliance with required policies to state code, and it's doing just a couple little cleanup spots.
Okay,
I move that we adopt this policy.
okay.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, the next one, medical marijuana in schools, file code JLCDA.
The only thing that we've done to this is insert that where it says medical marijuana may be administered only at, we put in a designated location in the school.
Move to accept this as presented.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, and parent involvement in education, file code KB.
Very minor change in a couple of spots. Instead of PTO groups, we changed to PTC and struck the word group.
Do we have a motion?
I would move to accept this policy as presented.
Second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that takes care of our second reads. All right, that was a good chunk. Okay, we got as far as, and I will read these off. That's 88.
Yeah, we did not get to ABC. We got to everything else.
We got to ADAA,
We
which
can
is.
still announce all of them as first reads because we'll be able to workshop them.
Oh, that's right.
At the second date, so let's not hold ourselves up.
Good point, Rich. All right, so should I read these off?
Just the file code and the title.
Okay,
It's the opportunity so the first
the
reads for the public is for the public it's notification of which policies are going to be on the table for the board to deal with, so that the public has notification of that prior to a second read and any kind of adoption of changes.
okay, so we have non-discrimination / equal opportunity and affirmative action, file code AC. Harassment and sexual harassment of students, file code ACAA. harassment and sexual harassment of school employees, file code ACAB, employee discrimination, harassment, and Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedures, file code ACAB-R, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior, file code ADAA, which is our current policy, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior, file code ADAA, use and possession of tobacco and electronic smoking devices, file code ADC, to be removed, tobacco-free schools, use and possession of tobacco and electronic smoking devices, file code ADC. Use and possession of tobacco and electronic smoking devices, administrative procedures, file code ADC-R. Employee use of social media, file code GCSB. Employee computer and internet use administrative procedures, file code GCSA-R. Employee use of social media, file code GCSB. That's, one
SB?
must be the
Is that
old
it?
one. Yeah, that's written here twice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
It's the
why.
old one.
Bloodborne pathogens exposure plan, ECP in parentheses to remove from policy book, and bloodborne pathogens, file code GBGAA. Wow. Okay. So, I am looking for a motion to accept all of those aforementioned policies as a first read tonight.
I think that we just have the first read out. We don't have to.
Do we have to vote on
We
that?
don't have to
No.
accept them.
Oh, all right.
Nope, it's just
Okay,
notification.
so that was the first read.
And I know the accepted policies that we already have, are those on the website, Steve?
I'm seeing a nod in the
Yeah, I
audience
do,
in the
yeah. I
affirmative.
believe they are, but is there any way we could check with Matt to see if these proposed items could also be added to the website?
Yes, so we send those out to them right away.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
great.
Okay. Okay, that concludes policies. Items for future agendas. Sixth grade committee report. Do we have a report tonight?
Nope, that's the future
That's for
agenda,
the future?
Yep.
Okay.
because I think that's Chris was talking about that.
Do we have the
maybe?
meeting scheduled
Who was
yet?
talking about the sixth grade?
Me.
Who?
Wendy
Well,
was.
weren't we talking about our next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris isn't
Do we
on
have a
that
date
meeting.
for that yet, the
Yes.
next meeting?
7th.
November
November
7th.
seventh.
November
7th?
7th?
Okay.
Thank you.
11, 7.
5 o'clock, I think it's at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
Okay. And I am
Yeah, I think that was
going to
the time,
November
too.
7th. So that's a select board meeting night.
Well,
But it's
Can't-
at 4 o'clock.
Oh, but it's at
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Right.
4, it's,
Okay.
yeah,
At
it says,
4,
it
4
says
p.m.
4 to 4:30, it's probably supposed to be 4 to 5, but
Okay.
4 to
Should be
5 you
4 to
said
5.
to me.
4 to
4 to
5,
5.
Yeah,
okay.
4 to 5
Great.
on
5
November
p.m.
7th.
Alright,
Super.
so we'll
And
make sure that's
can we
in
verify that we get these items, these committee meetings should definitely be added to the website?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes, they
Definitely,
should.
Yeah. Okay.
And it doesn't hurt to get them posted on
Of course, yeah.
the community
Community page, yeah.
page.
Mm.
Yep. Okay, so that's grade 6th grade. Grade committee meeting. Okay, so 4 to 5 p.m. All right. Yeah, it's so much quicker just if I wrote it down. Okay. So we have that. Hey Maggie,
Yeah,
there was a meeting last night.
yes, there was.
So this was supposed to go not under item for future agenda, but for tonight.
It's okay, we can change the
Can you,
agenda.
can you update us a little bit
Yeah.
on last night's rec committee meeting,
Yeah,
please?
good. Yep,
Awesome.
so we did have our first meeting last night, and keep in mind there was only 3 of us that showed up, but.
My
the other-
apologies.
No, and it's okay, like you said, so what we are gonna try to do is we're gonna try to have a monthly meeting the first Wednesday of every month. I am gonna ask Charles if we are gonna meet next week, cause we just had a meeting yesterday, so I don't know if we're going to bypass this first one and then do it again in November, so let me check with him.
Okay, but
Um,
budget season,
Yeah, it is.
remember,
No, we're
kind
aware.
of starts, so you
So,
guys
no.
might wanna do the October meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for right now, I think what our focus is gonna be, it's gonna be just to get a budget approval for a full-time rec director.
Right,
It's not
Okay.
gonna be about after-school care, it's not gonna be about summer programs, because the biggest item we have to deal with right now is just getting a part-time position approved to a full-time position.
right.
So that's gonna be our agenda.
Okay.
So, we talked a little bit about, what should a full-time director do? What's lacking with the part-time position? And we are basically, in the next meeting, we'd like to try to beef up more of our argument, so then when we do have a town hall meeting, we can present it to the select board to say, this is what we're proposing, this is the amount we're asking, and this is why.
Right.
So, that's really what the committee is, that's what we're trying to do first.
Yeah.
Because, and I mean, this is what's hard, is I know everybody's like, well, we need after school now, and we need a summer program now, and it's like, well, we need a rec director first.
Right.
Because as it is, there are programs that aren't happening, we know that things are, they're busy, and we understand, and they've got other obligations, but we need to find a way to have a rec director who is on board full-time to really beef up the current programs and to create new programs. So, it was a good meeting, like you said, we kind of outlined that, and, other than, Rich, there's another woman who volunteered to be on the board,
Oh,
and
great.
she's actually, yes.
Yes.
And I haven't met her yet, but she sounds great, cause I think she's helped build these types of programs in other towns.
Yeah, so for the public's information, it's Charles Frechette from the Board of Selectmen that's on the committee with Maggie,
Yep.
myself. What's Kim's last name?
Colson.
Colson. So Kim
And then-
Colson.
And then we have another parent, Jason Hatch.
Jason
So,
Hatch.
yeah,
That's great.
so which is great. So like you
Yeah.
said, we've got a good mix of parents, a select board, school board, so I think we've got a good mix. We've got a committee set, so we just need to keep having the meetings and,
When we did our research initially, it was always our intent to have the rec director be the first step, because the rec director is the person that's going to put all these programs into
in
play.
place, right.
So, you really can't start without having the chicken.
Right,
So-
well, and I think honestly, when I presented it at the town meeting, it kind of got blown out of proportion, because when they got talking about budget, they started looking at the rec department budget, and I'm like, I'm not going there yet. That's not what we're asking, we're not asking for a bigger rec department budget, cause in their mind, they're thinking, it's $300,000.
Right,
You need to
right.
do all this, and we're like, no, we just, like you said, let us have
Yeah.
the fundamental piece first. That's all we're asking, because she currently gets a certain salary. We're asking for funds to beef up that salary for a full-timer.
Right.
So that's what we're going with first.
Yeah.
So that's our agenda for right now, and that's what we're putting on the table to hopefully be part of the budget for this next year.
Okay.
Keep our fingers crossed. That's where we're at.
Right. Awesome. Well, there, that's
November?
good report.
Also, and I'm not sure when they vote, but, we did talk about that as well. So, and, hopefully if parents are watching this right now, look for, we will try to, when we talk about this agenda, we will probably do a vote, kind of like, I don't think it'll be a ballot vote, it will be more of a show of hands. So the more parent support we get, the better off we are.
Right.
Because we know that there is some concern with other members of the town, because taxes are going up.
Right.
Everybody got their tax bill, and it's crazy.
Mine was.
Yes, everybody's was. So for us to ask for more money in the it's, again, I think people would be like, no, we can't keep doing this, but we also have to get all the parents to come forward and say, well, wait a minute, this is for our kids.
Right.
And we also have to look at it too, if we have a better rec department, it doesn't just benefit the kids, it benefits the whole community, because you can do programs for adults, you can do programs for senior citizens, you can do all kinds of things, you just have to have the right person who's willing to think of all these ideas. And I've talked to many other towns, and that's what they do, and they've got some great ideas.
Yeah.
I'm
We
willing to
used-
steal them.
We
Yeah.
used
So-
to have that, Maggie. We did have
Okay.
programs for adults, programs for seniors.
Really advocate. She was really good,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, I mean, it would be great to see that again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would.
I think it's great, thank you.
Okay, so
Just
we're,
one quick sec. So Maggie, I was looking at students who do not attend our school
Okay,
and for what the different reasons are and so forth.
yeah,
And I know that I have 5 cases that are tuitioned to other schools because
no after school.
we don't have after school, and that's $55,000 to $60,000 in state subsidy that we do
So-
not receive.
I did mention that in our meeting, and that's gonna be kind of like another pushing point.
Absolutely.
Because again, the sooner we can get it approved to get
Hmm.
a full-time director, and this is just my opinion, I would say your first agenda item is to have after-school care.
Absolutely.
Right.
The summer program is a great bonus down the road,
Yes.
but after-school care is very doable. You just need, like you said, you need a full-timer to run the program.
Right.
And that was one of the points I was gonna bring up at a town hall meeting, because I remember you had mentioned that before.
It's really
And
important.
like you said,
yeah.
it's a loss of revenue for the school,
And kids
And-
who should be here
right, and kids. in
have
this-
to go somewhere else.
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
So take that revenue and put it towards the rec department.
Exactly.
Director. So there's really no,
right.
no loss of money if they look at it in that regard. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that's really
Yep.
important that people
Well,
know that.
it will also be very productive for the committee to do its work, but then when it comes time to present to the Board of Selectmen to have everyone there, even if parents can't attend these committee meetings, if they can come to the
If they
board
can come to that,
presentation
exactly.
and talk about the shortfalls that you've seen. We've been allocating this much in funds to get part-time, and then this is the result. And what is your experience with that? And
Right.
why are we sending kids to other schools and paying a lot more than we normally would
Right.
because we don't have aftercare programs? That's the presentation that we'll have to make to see that this moves forward. So
Absolutely.
looking
Well,
forward to it.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, so take this fall, the soccer program isn't doing well because information hasn't gone out, they don't have the coaches that they need. And again, when we sign our kids up, you pay. That's revenue for the rec department. If they don't sign up, they're going to other rec departments, they're going to Naples, they're going to Casco, they're going to Bridgeton, and they're signing up there and they're paying those towns
Right.
their fee. So that's, again, money we're losing out on
Yeah.
for a rec department
Mhm.
because it's
That's
not,
the
it's not
consistent
there.
narrative that we
Yes.
hear on the community page as well. So that's
Right.
why we started
Yeah.
this committee.
Yeah, good for you.
So,
so we'll keep both of those committee reports for
Yeah.
each meeting.
Sure.
And we'll,
Great.
okay. And we're, for the October meeting, we'll have the mentoring and the outdoor classroom discussions.
can I actually add something to the future agenda? Just something to
Absolutely.
think about.
Yep.
So, as the parent of a fifth grader, and I know that it was brought up last year about fifth graders moving on to the middle school. And maybe thinking about having meetings with teachers and with the school to say, what is the next step? Because I know, again, parents are curious on, where does my kid go to school from here? Do they go to Lake Region? Do they go to Bonnie Eagle? Where do they go? Because again, it's the town of Sebago, so it's more just kind of like an informative for the parents to say, okay, they're going on to middle school next, this is kind of what you're gonna expect. Some of the parents might appreciate that.
Mm.
So it's just to think about, is this something that maybe we could put together, like John with you, Steve, and just say, there might be some things that parents are just really curious about,
Right.
so.
And it should start at the beginning of the year.
Right, and that's why I'm mentioning it now, because
Yeah.
we don't wanna have that conversation come May.
Right.
We're like, yeah, they're gonna go somewhere else
Yeah.
in September. So-
Everyone should know the consequences about, you know, transportation, about our town, about our taxes.
Right,
you know.
and that's exactly it, is because I know a lot of parents may say, oh, well, you know, my kid has a choice, but again, we still wanna say, well, this is where they would go, this is the reason why, you know, and kind of point out the positives of all of that,
Right.
so they don't go to other schools, and
Right.
we try to keep them within this community.
And the middle school does have a new principal,
Oh,
so I
okay.
can connect with Holly and talk to
Okay,
her.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great, I mean, that would be amazing, like
Yeah.
you said, again, if you could have the middle school principal talk to the
Mhm.
parents as well, because I know me, I have a ton of questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure other fifth grade parents do too, especially if it's your oldest child.
yeah. Well, I'll reach out to find out about their, and I'm sure they have one already, or at least maybe she's put one for.
Yep.
The kids of Bridgeton, Naples and whatnot, and
Yep.
what day is that? How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
It almost reminds me of, you know, when the kids graduate from Lakes Region, they come back here and they
Yep.
say hi to all their teachers. It's like, if you have students from all the towns that go to Lakes Region participate in one day where they're like shadowing everyone, and then they see all the other kids from the other schools, and they already have friends that they made in other towns that they see,
Right.
oh, I'm
Yep.
going to Lakes Region. It fosters that sense of community as well,
Mhm.
so
Right.
it'd be
Yep.
great to have that happen.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah,
should be
it's
happening.
important
Yeah,
already. It should.
it is. Is there anything else anybody has for, agenda items, for future agendas?
I don't think we'll be ready for the sixth grade though for next, or October, because we're having a meeting in November.
Oh, that's
So I'd mention that.
okay, good point,
Okay.
good point. Information items, future meetings, our workshop for October will be on the 24th at 6 PM with our meeting following at 7 PM. And in November, our workshop is on November 28th at 6 PM, meeting following at 7 PM. And you all should have received your handout for the fall conference, which I think none of us are attending.
It was on the email, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be going to the sessions, so I'll bring back information as I.
Right.
See, if you look the agenda over and you think Steve would really like it if you hit that, because there may be things on there that you've already had conversations about and I'm just not aware of it. So feel free to shoot me a text or something.
Okay.
Oh, for future meetings, did Chris mention the ski club? Was that a necessary item to add?
Do we need that for October, November?
I mean, maybe just to mention on the
It's a
the
good
next
idea.
agenda.
It wouldn't be
It wouldn't
bad
be a
to
bad
bring it up
idea,
and have her
'cause
talk
it's gonna
about it.
come up,
Right.
so-
Right, she's the person who's been organizing it, so.
Yeah.
Ski
um,
club.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hadn't thought of that
Okay,
yet.
all right. If I can get myself some boots, I can help teach.
Good. We'll
Go
get you,
to, Shawnee Peak right now, they've got deals on rentals.
Yeah, the last year's rentals, they
Mhm.
sell them all. Yeah.
Yep, they have tent
Should we go
sales,
and
or
check
you
out?
can lease for the
Check it out.
season.
yeah,
Cause that's what I do with my kids, cause it's a lot cheaper
Oh,
than
sure.
buying them,
It
cause they
is.
outgrow them in a season.
right, right,
So,
that's the way to go.
That's something too, that maybe like when they bring up the ski club to mention, to say, listen,
That's a
if
good
kids
idea.
need equipment, they can go to Shawnee Peak, they can go right to the mountain, and they can lease it for the season.
Oh, that's
Right.
another event.
And also at Ski Hot.
Yeah.
We'll
Could
do that
have
too.
Well, no, that's who it's through,
Oh, okay.
it's through Ski Hot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wendy,
Yeah.
you might want to add a ski swap to your fall fest.
That's not a bad idea.
A
'cause
ski
actually-
swap to this fall
Why
fest?
not? Get ready for winter. Bring all your stuff that your kids grew out of last year. And
Uh-huh.
Well, and I wanted to
Wow.
ask Chris too, if the ski club will take donations of equipment, cause like I have boots and
We're
hats.
getting off track though. I can
Sorry.
sense the cameraman.
I'm just checking your time.
Yeah, right. We can talk about that next time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All righty, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? There we go.
Before I forget, I'm not gonna be here for next month.